So you're probably wondering, what on earth is Lego chord melody? Let me start by stating that there are seldom taught concepts on guitar that don't have a name, so to better describe them, we sometimes need to borrow a name from a different domain that most people are familiar with. That said, for this concept, I usually prefer to use the terms interlocking or modular chord shapes. And they can be used to create chord melody or simply for comping. But instead of attempting to describe it, let me show you. Let's take a shape. Of course, like many chord shapes, this could be viewed as many different entities. But for the sake of this demonstration, let's view it as an E minor major seventh. So in essence, it is a four-part melodic minor derived voicing. On the first string, we have B, or the fifth. On the second string, we have a D sharp, which is the major seventh. On the third string, we have a C sharp, which is the sixth or 13th. And on the fourth, we have a G, which is the minor third. So currently we are going to harmonize the fifth, which is the melody note. So to develop this concept, I am going to stay in position and vertically follow the E melodic minor down from this fifth. At the same time, I am going to harmonize each note with other notes from the E melodic minor scale to create a 3 or 4 part voicing. However, in doing so, the key is to try and keep at least one note of the previous voicing in place, which will in turn serve as the linkage between the shapes. Here we go. Now I'm going to ascend. Now, this can be done for any chord family, but I have chosen a melodic minor derived shape because, as most of you know, any of its notes can be incorporated into your chords. And this isn't the case with major scale derived shapes, where you have to be careful not to include the so-called avoid note, which will clash with your chord. Let me add that regardless of the chord family, if using 4-part 7th voicings like I am doing here, we have 4 inversions of the given chord throughout the fretboard. That means that we can develop these voicing linkages in 4 different zones across the fretboard. But for those of you that are getting impatient and wondering how all of this sounds in a musical context, next I want to show you how I can improvise using these modular chord shapes over a standard progression. And be sure to stick with me, because after this I am going to show you some 2-5-1 chord melody lines exclusively using modular shapes, so you too can start practicing them. And I will also explain more about the overall concept. So let me improvise over the changes to a great tune that uses 2-5-1s derived from the melodic minor. Cole Porter's What Is This Thing Called Love? So now that hopefully you agree with me that this is a useful and very cool sounding concept, let me explain it further. If we look at the notation on the screen, the initial chord in this chart and the ones that follow are the same ones I previously demonstrated. Notice at the top that the melody note of each shape is analyzed in regards to its function as an E minor major 7 chord. However, if you go down the list, you can see that the same set of shapes take on a whole new identity depending on where you view the root of the related melodic minor mode. If viewing it in relation to the Lydian dominant, the shapes now identify an A7 sharp 11. Next, if viewing it as the Locrian natural 2, the shapes now identify a C sharp minor 7 flat 5. And this is very useful because we can transpose the shapes to use over our 2 minor 7 flat 5 chords. Finally, if viewing it as the 7th mode or super Locrian, the shapes now identify an altered dominant chord, which can in turn be transposed to be used as our 5-7 in a 2-5 cadence. All of this enables us to organize the shapes in groups of 2-5-1 chords, or for that matter, other progressions that frequently come up when playing over a standard. Furthermore, keep in mind that this is just one of 4 zones available on the fretboard for each chord that I use. That's why it's labeled Zone 2 at the top. So next I want to teach you a couple of chord melody lines which are ready to apply. But before I do, since I can't cover everything related to this concept in just this lesson, I want to encourage you to download the detailed study package that I've put together. It features PDFs with charts displaying regular notation and tab for all the voicings in the 4 different zones for the melodic minor derived chords, as well as how to use them. Also PDFs with 10 2-5-1 lines combining voicings from the 4 zones. In addition, I'm including MP3s of me playing all the examples, as well as a band-in-a-box file with all these examples that you can use to slow them down, loop them, or transpose them. And you can download all of this for a nominal contribution from jazzguitar.richieZellen.com/premium, and you'll find the link under mini courses. Here is the first 2-5-1 that I want to show you, and it uses the shapes from this zone I previously demonstrated for an E minor major 7th. This time, however, they are being applied to an E minor 7 flat 5, acting as a 2 minor 7 flat 5, which means that D minor is now our 1 chord. You'll note that the altered 5-7 and the 1 minor major 7 are using shapes from other zones that I have not introduced previously. That's because when you combine shapes derived from the different inversion zones in a 2-5-1, you want to make sure that at the point of chord change you can voice lead smoothly between them. That said, in the PDF download I suggest 5 different zone combinations that you can use to organize your 2-5-1s for effective voice leading. And this happens to be one of them. So let me slowly play all the different chord fragments included in this line. This second 2-5-1 uses a combination from the same 3 zones. I figured that instead of showing you a set of completely different combinations, I'd repeat the same 3 so you can better get a feel for how much variation is available for each set, and we can reinforce the shapes. let me play all the shapes included in this line slowly, and be sure to notice how there are common fingers linking all the shapes again. All I can say is that I love this stuff. However, I am curious to hear your thoughts. So, as usual, I appreciate your likes and comments and welcome any questions that you may have. And if this is your first time on this channel and you enjoyed this lesson, please be sure to subscribe. I'm Richie Zellen, and I look forward to bringing you many more info-filled lessons on this channel. So be sure to click on that bell icon so you'll be notified of my upcoming lessons. Until we meet again, you know the drill. Practice, 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 and then practice some more. May peace be with you.